Politics is a dirty game, and this week the players are in rare form. South Sudan's government is back at it, redefining unity as detentions and siege tactics. Brussels is throwing billions at South Africa, hoping to outbid China and Russia in the geopolitical sugar daddy contest. Meanwhile, Africa's elite are speedrunning their way to American citizenship because why fix a broken country when you can just buy a new one? Kenya's President Ruto is wiring taxpayer money straight to Jesus. Uganda is jailing people for having opinions. What's new there? And Zimbabwe is tackling its biggest crisis yet, ghost accounts on social media. Not corruption, not inflation, just tweets. Welcome to Second Take, where we slice through the spin, roast the hypocrisy, and remind you that in politics, the only thing faster than a politician's promise is their exit plan. South Sudanese politics is a bit like an abusive relationship. Every time you think things are getting better, someone gets detained, someone gets shot, and everyone else starts pretending they don't see anything. This week, the government, led by President Salva Kiir, decided it was time for another round of political re-education, which in South Sudanese terms means locking up officials loyal to Vice President Riek Machar and pretending it's about justice. You'd think that after a peace deal in 2018, the country would have at least moved on to a more subtle form of political oppression. But nope. Old habits die hard. The so-called unity government is still playing the same tired game of let's pretend to work together while secretly preparing for the next civil war. International bodies like IGAD are once again releasing politely worded statements asking the government to release detainees unless credible evidence warrants legal proceedings. It's adorable that they think South Sudan ever needed credible evidence to arrest someone. Meanwhile, security forces have surrounded Machar's residence because what's a peace process without a casual siege? The reality is that South Sudan's leaders don't actually want peace. They just want time to rearm. The country is a political pressure cooker, and the only question left is whether the next explosion will be a controlled burn or a full-scale inferno. Either way, the people of South Sudan are left doing what they do best, hoping for the best while preparing for the absolute worst. Brussels is feeling a little left out of the global superpower love triangle, with the US treating South Africa like an ungrateful ex and China whispering sweet nothings in South Africa's ear. The European Union has decided it's time to rekindle an old flame with billions worth of love letters. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen flew into South Africa like, ex trying to remind you of the good times, praising Pretoria as a leading voice of the global South. This, of course, is code for we know you've been hanging out with Russia and China, but we're willing to overlook that if you just pretend to still like us. President Cyril Ramaphosa, the king of political non-commitment, smiled politely, go cupcake, while likely calculating how much of this money will actually reach the people of South Africa and how much will mysteriously disappear into consulting fees. Brussels, in turn, is hoping to secure trade deals, climate agreements, and maybe, just maybe, convince South Africa to stop being so friendly with Russia. Unfortunately for the EU, South Africa knows that in today's world, loyalty is expensive and geopolitical friendships are negotiable. The money will be accepted, the deals will be signed, and the moment the ink dries, Pretoria will be right back to playing footsie with China and Russia. It's just how it is. So, the American dream is now available for purchase, and African elites are first in line. The U.S. Gold Card program, designed to attract high net worth individuals, is the latest trend among Africa's wealthiest citizens who've realized that patriotism is a hobby for the poor. Why deal with collapsing economies, unstable currencies, and predatory tax policies when you can just buy your way into the land of tax loopholes and billion-dollar bailouts? Governments across Africa, of course, are pretending they don't see the problem. Instead of making their own countries more attractive for investment, they're doubling down on policies that make wealth holders want to flee even faster. It's a classic case of treating symptoms instead of causes. The question is, should Africa be adopting similar programs? Because if America can lure Africa's elite with a golden ticket, maybe African countries should start handing out their own before they wake up one day and realize all their money is parked offshore and their best entrepreneurs are filing tax returns in Miami. President William Ruto of Kenya has a new economic strategy. When in doubt, give money to the church. His latest act of generosity, donating 20 million Kenyan shillings to the Jesus Winner Ministry, while ordinary Kenyans struggle under tax hikes. When young protesters, angry at this divine misallocation of funds, tried to occupy the church, they were met with tear gas, because nothing screams holiness like riot police. Ruto, an evangelical Christian, insists Kenya must know God. But at this rate, Kenyans are less interested in divine intervention and more interested in knowing why their taxes keep disappearing into government black holes. Churches, of course, are split. Some see the money as a blessing, others see it as a bribe. Either way, young Kenyans are left asking one simple question. If God is watching, does he accept wire transfers? Uganda has done it again. Arrested someone for thinking too loudly. This week's victim of the country's legendary intolerance of criticism is Magairewo Juma, a mechanic turned political commentator whose crime was saying words the government didn't like. He has been charged with hate speech and incitement to violence, which in Uganda basically means having an opinion. The government, in its infinite wisdom, claims that Juma's social media rants could provoke unrest, as if economic hardship, police brutality, and political repression haven't already done that. Meanwhile, President Yoweri Museveni, in power since 1986, continues his reign with all the grace of a man who refuses to update his operating system. Juma now waits trial, where he will either be found guilty of not being a sycophant or be released under strict orders to shush. Either way, Uganda remains a place where free speech is encouraged, so long as it's praising the government. Zimbabwe's government has unveiled its latest masterstroke for national development. Less economic growth, more social media regulation. Information Minister Jenfan Muswere, in a move that could only be described as boldly ironic, announced sweeping new laws to combat ghost accounts and cashvists. The former, apparently, are shadowy online entities spreading dissent, while the latter are former journalists who've dared to pivot to activism, a career path the government seems to view as more dangerous than actual ghostwriting. The irony, of course, is thicker than the potholes on the Bulawayo Road. This is the same government that has perfected the art of ghostly endeavors. Ghost projects, see the $15 billion diamond revenue that vanished into thin air, ghost voters, hello 2008 election rolls, and ghost promises, Vision 2030, anyone? Yet, Muswere insists this crackdown is about transparency, a word that, in Zimbabwean politics, carries about as much weight as a Zim dollar in a hyperinflation storm. The proposed laws promise journalists more access to ministers, a claim that elicited chuckles from press veterans who remember being barred from covering parliamentary sessions or arrested for asking the wrong questions. Access, it seems, will be granted only to those who already agree with the official narrative, or as one cynical editor put it, those who can ghostwrite the government's propaganda without asking for a byline. Meanwhile, the term cashvist has become the government's favorite new buzzword, a clever portmanteau meant to discredit activists by implying they're in it for the money. Never mind that Zimbabwe's economy is in such shambles that even the most enterprising cashvist would struggle to turn a profit. The real cash flow, as always, seems to be in government circles where luxury vehicles and unexplained real estate acquisitions are as common as power cuts. The crackdown on social media is particularly rich, given that Zimbabwe's ruling party, ZANU-PF, has long relied on its own army of online supporters, many of whom are neither subtle nor particularly convincing. One particularly memorable tweet from a pro-government account praised the president for fixing the economy while the country was literally queuing for bread. But while the government's digital defenders are free to roam the internet, independent voices are increasingly being silenced under the guise of national security. And so, as Zimbabwe marches towards Vision 2030, a development plan that feels more like a mirage with each passing day, the government's priorities are clear. Less electricity, less employment, less press freedom, but more control over what you can say, share, or even think online. At this rate, Vision 2030 might just be another digital illusion projected onto a screen, while the real work of nation building remains undone. In the end, the only ghosts haunting Zimbabwe are the ones the government refuses to exorcise: corruption, incompetence, and a legacy of broken promises. Those have been our stories of the week on Second Take. We're going to swing into our TikToks of the week. And this week, we're focusing on accents. As you know, as an African in Zimbabwe, they say that Chirungu chakauya nengarawa chimechika rasika mumvura, which means essentially English came on a ship and some of it fell in the water. So as an African, you don't particularly have any obligation to have a fantastic accent. But my goodness, when your original accent pops out, we got to have a laugh.
Hey, would you like to get some fast food?
I'd love that. Are you okay with KFC?
Yeah, sure. I'm not against that.
Against your birthday is on Wednesday.
13, 12, 16, 17.
My name is Agitation Dube.
Alright guys, I've got some snacks here. We're just having to eat.
Yes, for us we are hungry.
Yes, you
Deacon,
bring.
we
Let's
are
bring the
hungry.
thing, man. Bring.
Alright, cool, let me see what I've got. I've got here some sweets, got some bread, eggs, hot chocolate, biscuits.
Biscuits no Uganda. Kute haji nkukute mbu hot chocolate ne biscuits.
Hi. Hi.
Hi.
Are you the last one in the queue?
Oh yes, I'm the last one.
Okay. Oh, the queue is so long, eh?
Yeah.
What are you here for?
Me, I'm just here to satisfy my documents.
Satisfy my documents. Happy birthday, when I went to one time, Mazulu.
Could I just get your verification code?
Yeah, it's 35
Oh, yeah.
I am the government, no safety, no police, just anarchy.
Could I just get your verification code?
Yeah, it's 35
Oh, yeah.
I am the government, no safety, no police, just anarchy.
Could I just get your verification code?
Yeah, it's 35
Oh, yeah.
I am the government, no safety, no police, just anarchy.
Could I just get your verification code?
Yeah, it's 35
Oh, yeah.
I am the government, no safety, no police, just anarchy.
Could I just get your verification code?
Yeah, it's 35
Oh, yeah.
I am the government, no safety, no police, just anarchy.
Could I just get your verification code?
Yeah, it's 35
Oh, yeah.
I am the government, no safety, no police, just anarchy.
Could I just get your verification code?
Yeah, it's 35
Oh, yeah.
I am the government, no safety, no police, just anarchy.
Oh man, I was really hungry. How's your burger? Is it good? Is it tasty?
Really good, thank you.
Nice, nice. It smells good. Hey, can I borrow some of your barbecue sauce, please?
Of course you can.
Thank you.
Can you please pass me the mayonnaise?
Mayonnaise.
So I'm joined by Irene Marie van der Walt, journalist, who is here to dissect the subjects, topics, stories from the week, some of them. We might dwell on one thing or we might stretch out into 4 things. It's a completely off-script, organic chat. That's just how we like to do it. How's it going, Irene?
It is good. It's Formula One weekend. Obviously,
Okay.
I was going to bring that up on
She's
any
a huge
show I'm
Formula
on.
One fan. She's a huge fan.
Humongous. I
Yeah.
live, eat, breathe. My life has not made sense for 3 months, but
Okay.
we're back. Yeah.
All right. Okay,
It's
so
good.
time to burst your bubble. Politics.
Formula One is quite close to politics.
Yeah,
in
it does.
principle.
It does what it can. I mean, it's only had one black race driver, so yeah, pretty close to politics. So moving forward, let's talk about this thing where we're seeing this emergence of people who are smart in what they do, just like transferring that or transferring whatever credibility they got from what makes them smart into politics.
And subsequently ruining said credibility.
For some. Well, look, for Elon Musk, it's not working that well right now because Donald Trump literally had to have an ad for Tesla cars at the White House, which was weird. I say this because I've got a pretty broad metric for weird. And, you know, sometimes I narrow it down.
Do you think I'm acceptable? So
Yeah, I mean, we're together. We're on this. But it's like, sometimes I ask myself, has Mugabe done this? And if he hasn't, I'm like, you know what I mean? Because he's my model dictator, was my model dictator. And so I get very confused when I see things like a president literally doing an ad for cars, because why the stock market is plummeting. The billionaires who took the picture with Donald Trump, that famous picture, have lost a collective of about $285 billion since that day. So people are not responding well. Why would they? You're dishing out tariffs, whilst everyone's dishing them back. I mean, just now Canada was like, 25% of your electricity comes from us. We're gonna raise the tariffs on that.
Yeah.
So it's a tricky situation. But really, let's talk about the situation of individuals, these functionaries in Zimbabwe. There's one, Wikno Shivayo. He's a really rich guy who buys people cars for no reason and stuff, but for some reason he's got access to the State House. And the national broadcaster broadcasted his Lobola negotiations. Now, I revere African tradition. I love, I value, I honor it.
you were once a part of the
I
Lobola
certainly had to
negotiation yourself.
gather my cattle for my Zambian wife.
And you were glowing,
I
brother,
was
in
glowing.
that
I
time. You
took
were
pride
so
in it. But did I need the nation to watch? And why did the president have to be there? Do you get my point? So now you look at people like Elon Musk, who you can give him credit for, let's not say what he's created, but what he's managed to manipulate into wealth. Let's call it that.
Yeah.
Because there's debates as to what he has and what he hasn't created. What he has managed to create is wealth, in whatever manner that he's been able to do so. But now he's being asked to look at government efficiency. I mean, talk to me.
Yeah. My opinions on Elon Musk are not fantastic. Just right off the gate, disclaimer there. I don't disrespect him. I don't disregard him. He doesn't, leave a sour taste in my mouth. I just have not found a particular reason to respect him. He came into PayPal. Arguable whether he did good or bad there. Ended up leaving. Ended up buying an already existing company, Tesla, and then paying the founders of Tesla for the title of the founder of Tesla. Which is something that, I don't like it.
Because
I can't respect it.
But Tesla is like a person who existed, which is so weird, right?
Yeah.
Because there was actually, it's like, oh, I want to be
Nikola
the
Tesla
founder.
was-
You know what I mean? If the company
Yeah.
was called Mugabe, my word of the day apparently. It's like, we know, because the reason, that's the name. So
Yeah.
it comes from there. But now look, he's making decisions for government. In fact, influencing decisions, influencing sanctions to South Africa. Africa, the country that he comes from. I don't know if everybody knows that. Trump is
I don't think
calling
he's
him an
very proud
American.
of coming from South Africa, honestly.
Probably not. I think he's proud of the community he particularly comes from. I don't think he's proud of being South African, the unified rainbow Nelson Mandela South African. Dial back a couple of years, put South Africa in the 60s, 50s. Elon Musk might like it.
I'm not certain about this, but I've heard time and again that apparently, allegedly, Elon Musk's family immigrated to South Africa because they liked apartheid.
They
liked the
specifically
idea
went for that.
There's white people
That
who
is
are going
actually
to be-
true. That's from his mother's side. That is actually true. I saw that in a podcast with his father, Elon Musk, where he was talking about how they migrated to South Africa, how his mother's, his ex-wife migrated to South Africa. And Elon Musk, considering his relations, blurry with regards to who he considers a relative and who he doesn't consider a relative. But now he's influencing decisions that have nothing to do with his expertise. Why do you think society, and I'm going to say right-wing society for this particular subject, keeps just dishing out credibility based on how much money did you make?
I think left-wing society does a similar thing, not necessarily based on money, but based on, number one, like you said, you being knowledgeable and intelligent and smart in one particular area. I think we transfer intelligence, so I don't think it's a right-wing thing. And secondly, I think left-wingers, the left side of the political ideology, tends to put people on a pedestal if they can say the right things, the things that are in accordance with left-wing ideology.
So I hear you. So I was just saying right-wing in this particular aspect because Elon Musk is exclusively a right-wing issue. But it's definitely across the board. I mean, human beings, I believe, and I know you guys don't want to talk about it, but there wasn't much division, when Hitler was getting powerful yet. Everybody was kind of, with him. So, left wing, right wing, fair and fine. But just looking right now, the most potent wave right now is right wingers. And I'm neither here nor there. But specifically right now, there's this rise. And of course, when you have a reality TV star as the president of the United States of America, the lines get blurred.
But I think we do this, and I think we have done this for a long time. I find that people do it to me. I started, in journalism, and my life has been centered around journalism since I was 15. So because I've been in journalism for so long, people tend to think that I understand other principles really well, economics, politics, etc., etc. And I think it's just because being smart, being intelligent is a sort of amorphous thing. It doesn't look particularly one way, so I don't think we quite understand it. There is a lot of debate. I've very much taken interest in psychology. I have since I was young. And there's a debate around whether or not we can accurately measure intelligence. There are different types of intelligence.
Absolutely.
So it's quite amorphous. We can't really place it. And as such, I think it kind of boggles our brains a little bit that if you're smart, you are smart in general and not you are smart in this thing. I think more than anything, somebody being educated, somebody having experience at something is way more important than whether or not they are smart at that particular thing. You can tell a smart person to paint a picture, right? And their picture will look so much worse than a stupid person who spent how many years learning to paint.
Because they're smart at painting. That's where their intelligence comes from.
Stupid but well rehearsed and well educated.
Yes, but again, those are the rules of smartness. Smartness is essentially released in practice. Your brain can take up whatever form it is, but what you do is what determines, what you have to offer the world. So to me, that painter would be, intelligent, but they wouldn't transfer his skills to politics, so to speak. And as a creative, I know that's really what it is for artists. So, it's a conversation we certainly want to have with our audience. We'd love to hear your thoughts. I mean, certain names come to mind like Kanye West, who 100% is a musical genius and 100% is an IDIOT in pretty much anything political. So, it happens like that sometimes. But staying a little bit with America, Trump wants to annex Greenland. He spoke to NATO. He said, we need it. We need Greenland.
What for? What did he say?
Well, he says they're an important.
Their oil? Do they have oil?
Well, they do have a lot of natural resources, of which we know America's are dwindling. They are at a strategic point for America, especially with regards to their missile technology. So Donald Trump is just trying to take Greenland. And of course, it's partly controlled by Denmark, and the European Union is not having it. NATO it was an awkward meeting last week when they were chatting about it. And the question I have to ask now is, where do Americans draw the line? Like, where do you draw the line? And when I say line, I'm not talking about a Republican senator who's been accused of snorting drugs. I mean the line of power, the line of morality, the line of empathy. Where do you draw the line and say enough is enough? Rape accusations won't do it. Corruption accusations won't do it. Convictions will not do it. Trying to annex another country will not do it. Where does the line exist for America? And if there is no line, should the world start drawing those lines for the USA?
I think America can do whatever it wants off to the side as soon as you start. And I mean, Trump
sorry,
can
just
say
before
what
you
he
finish your point.
Yeah.
It's impossible, quote unquote, to kind of separate them, right, from the global. They've got 750 military bases across the world.
Yeah.
So America's everywhere.
Yeah.
Right. So please continue. I just want that.
Well, the thing is, again, with the military bases, it's, for example, I spoke with someone yesterday about Starlink, and they said that, listen, if I want to get Starlink, the government should not stop me, you know? If the government has a problem with Elon Musk's politics, for example, that's the government's problem, not mine. If I'm fine with Elon Musk's politics, then I'm fine
but
So
of course
it's
you
the
brought
same
up
thing.
Starlink. You brought Starlink where the problem was Elon Musk was asking for a privilege that no one else has been given. South Africa has laws like every other country and laws that govern businesses. I understand in America those laws are paper thin. In South Africa, they are robust. Amazon has been operating in South Africa. I don't know if you've met Jeff Bezos, but he's not Malawian. Microsoft just committed $20 billion to this. These are companies which are operating in South Africa. So Elon Musk is lying. What he is saying is that he does not want to be held to the same standard as other business people because he is
special.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
But my whole thing is, if you don't want America operating a military base in your country, you probably have a say in that.
Yeah, I hear you say that, but remember, the reason Ukraine and Russia are at war isn't because America made its way into Russia. It's because of Ukraine allowing America in. Now, we may seem like we are very distant from these American military bases, but there's one in Botswana. That's next door. You feel my point? And of course, military bases aren't just used for war, they're used for surveillance. These guys have got far-reaching technology. And much like scientists whose job it is to discover new things, we have to draw a line somewhere. At some point, we have to say, this is where we don't go, regardless of how smart you are.
Yeah. But I mean, do what you want, honestly. At some point, America, I think, is going to back itself into a corner. So let it. If America wants, because Trump is very open about, make America great again, and the way to make America great again is to cut it off from the rest of the world, apparently. So they're going to back themselves into a corner and let them. If they are successful having backed themselves into a corner, having made America great again, let them. If they're not, let them.
All right, be great, but do it in your own corner, as Maria van der Walt has just said. From me, Ashwin Berry, and the Second Take team, that's been our chat. So that has been the show. South Sudan's government is back to its favorite pastime, locking up rivals and pretending it's about justice. The European Union is trying to buy back South Africa's affection with a 4.7 billion euro check. But Cyril Ramaphosa knows the game too well. Don't mess with Cupcake. Meanwhile, America is selling the American dream on a gold card, and Africa's elite are first in line. In Kenya, divine intervention apparently cost 20 million shillings. Just ask President Ruto. Uganda remains the regional champion of arresting citizens for free speech, and Zimbabwe, in a bold display of misplaced priorities, is cracking down on social media while corruption and power cuts run the country. Thank you for watching Second Take.